This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. Carm Capriotto, the pioneer of automotive aftermarket podcasts, with part 5 and the final installment of Mike Davidson's leadership series. In this episode, Mike discusses the reward of growing in leadership. Now, it goes beyond profit and cash flow. The real success comes from business owners realizing they need to develop their people instead of managing them. Too often, the owner is the biggest obstacle in allowing the business to grow. So find out what happens when you implement this How-To Leadership Series. Hey, thanks to our partner NAPA for sponsoring this episode. You know, the NAPA Auto Care Gold certification offers a premier tier for members to provide consumers with a consistent experience anywhere in the country. Gold certified members earn benefits like preferred referrals, $1,500 in marketing funds, tracks for free, and more. To learn about gold certification, speak to your NAPA representative. Hey, binge the complete leadership series with Mike Davidson on my website, remarkableresults.biz. And hey, thanks for listening to the service aftermarket's best kept secret for personal networking. Honored again to have Mike Davidson back with us as we continue our leadership series. Hi, Mike.
We've made it to leadership lesson 5. Can you believe we actually made it?
We have. I love recording series, just to let you know, because there's just so damn much to learn. And the listener gets it maybe every 3 or 4 weeks, depending on, how the schedule works. But then the beauty of it is I will put this thing up on the website as a special podcast, and all of them will be right in one chunk together. So even if you want to put them up on your, site, I can give you a link, and all the episodes, all the leadership series can appear at one place.
Definitely would like that. I'm actually working on a new site right now for leadership that we would want that as a part of that for sure, Carm.
Podcast episode leadership series 5. We're calling this, or you're calling this, "What's the Reward of Growing in Leadership?" The first episode that we did in the series, "Everything Rises and Falls on Leadership. What They See is What They Will Be," was number 2. And then series number 3 was "Creating a Leadership Growth Environment." And then we did that actually in part 1 and part 2. And now we are is "What's the Reward of Growing Leadership?" Excited that you're here. Mike, shop owner for 28 years?
23, 24. Who's counting? Just 24 years. It's been a real terrific journey, and I expect to be here as at least part of an owner for at least probably 7 more years as our succession plan is in place. And that has been the reason that has happened is because of the man that works for me and the opportunity he's had to show his leadership skills, which goes back to that leadership environment that we talked about in the last 2 lessons. That's one of the rewards, is identifying someone in the organization. See, he's worked for me for 10 years. So it wasn't that I found a successor and I brought him in and said, "Hey, here's your new boss." It was someone that I actually hired as a dispatcher when I had a dispatch system. We threw that out. He's a great, smart technician, went to college on the West Coast, very smart man, loves cars. And then I saw his ability to work with people. I just saw this thing in him, and I thought he's worth investing in and developing. Well, even during the interview, I knew I wanted him, so I created a job for him, more or less, because I knew I wanted this guy. And so now he's a part of that succession.
Mike, as an offshoot of this series, I hope this may motivate the shop owners that are listening. And of course, there's a ton of technicians and people all over the industry that listen to this show. Can you share this story with someone who is thinking about succession? If you're an individual who'd love to own a shop someday, have you made that connection, that communication with your owner? And as an owner, maybe you could be motivated by the fact that Mike is there. He's on it. He's used his great talent and leadership to get where he is, so that I'm just happy and I'm proud of you. Now, Mike is a John Maxwell certified teacher, trainer, and coach. He owns another company called Industry Essentials, a great apprentice program, A Wage an Hour. And is the new book out?
The new book is out. Technician Time Management is out. And so it's out there to, it's just looking at the motivation behind that book and the others have all been the same reason I'm sitting here with you today, and that is to my personal motivation, my personal burden is to help lift the burden of being an automotive shop owner to all automotive shop owners. If you want a reason why I wrote those books, why I'm sitting here, and why I continue to be mentored and to learn myself about leadership, that's it. That's the why. You got to have the why.
And I'm right with you, my friend, because the burden to lift this industry through all these incredible over 1,000 episodes in all the different shows and venues that we've had, you and I are incredibly aligned. Hey, let's jump into this episode, Series 5 here in the leadership thing. What's the reward of growing in leadership?
People say they want their business to run themselves. That's something you hear a lot of people say, but that is a lie. Businesses do not run themselves. People run businesses. You need leaders. You need those people to be leaders to run your business without you. That's how your business runs itself, is through the people you train to be leaders or give them a venue or opportunity or platform or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying is that opportunity to put their leadership skills to test, to practice, to exposure, and to learn, because there's either success or there's learning. That's what John Maxwell teaches, and I say it this way as well. You don't, and may not make exact sense as I'm saying it, but I'm going to say it. But you don't always get what you want, but you always get what you choose. All right, so when you choose to be in the weeds of your business every day, then that's what you're going to get, even if that's not what you want. But if you want your business to run without you, then you will develop your people. We've said it in previous episodes. Chick-fil-A is a leadership development company that happens to sell chicken. Well, you want to be a leadership development company that happens to sell automotive service. And so how do we do that? Well, your behavior, everything rises and falls on leadership. That is a John Maxwell quote, and that I can tell you that he believes that when he started it, and he believes it with all of his heart today. And so when you want something to change within your business, then you are the answer. And so developing people to be leaders will allow them to lead your company and you to go do whatever else you want to do. If that means not be there, or maybe you do want to be there, you're still having someone else to share that burden of leadership while you're there is huge. You're not in the weeds of the business having a conversation. If you have a conversation with one of your advisors about job assignments with the technicians, then you're the only leader in your organization. There's an example I would give, because that's not a conversation you should be involved in.
We all know that we want to do better for our business. We want to do better for ourselves. And so much of what Mike has talked about in these episodes should allow you to think deep and hard about what role you play in this. So thank you so much for that, creating the environment that you deserve. Wow.
I think a good way to start for every shop owner, if you were just to start, I got to clean my plate here and start over, just determine what you value. Your culture will be what you value. So you need to determine what that is. What you value determines your culture. And I enjoy actually doing that with a team of people. I do that through a webinar where I help them define their purpose and culture with the whole team, and the owner be involved in what is it I want my culture to be like. When you identify what your culture is or what you want your culture to be, then we're saying these are the behaviors that manifest the culture I desire. And so that can be part of a job description or conversation or correction or whatever it may be. But until you identify the culture and then the behaviors that manifest that culture, everyone's just kind of doing their own thing.
When you do this determine what your value is webinar, do you do it with owner and their team, or are you just trying to teach owners how to do it?
I actually have a private conversation with the owner first to help him just think through a few questions of what are his value and what does he want his culture to be like. And then he sits in the meeting quiet. And then we let his staff determine what they want as a culture. And then we find out if we have alignment.
Yeah, okay, so it kind of reminds me of doing a SWOT. I still believe that the owner should not lead the SWOT. He should be silent in the meeting. And I love doing SWOTs. In fact, I never thought of doing a webinar-style SWOT. Maybe I need to put my flag up and do that for people, because I love doing SWOTs because there's so much to learn in them. Cool. Hey, well, thank you. I think you may have just broke the code for the industry, because you're right. Determine what you value.
When we did that exercise, and I typically will not present anything I haven't done myself in my own business to either work out the kinks or see if it makes sense. And so now when we did that, and our team developed the culture that they wanted and the purpose of getting up in the morning and coming here, it's now a statement that's on a poster on either side of the door and now on the back of all of our business cards, what our purpose and culture is. And so our customers can see it, our employees see it, and we see it all the time. What is our purpose? What is our culture? It was a good exercise. It just took one night to do it. And I went, I think I could help some other shop owners with this, because I came to that place where I felt like we needed to get all on the same page for our purpose and culture, and that helped me bring it to fruition. You talk about what I've learned. I've learned that I was the biggest obstacle for my people to grow, that I literally needed to get out of their way, that if I want them to grow, that I had to create this learning environment, because learning and growing is synonymous, right? They're together. And so if I, as the owner, do not create the environment, all those things we talked about in lessons 3 and 4, if I, at least at the minimum, not have those kinds of things in place, Carm, then I'm managing people, I'm not developing people. And so that's what I discovered, is that I was in the way of managing people. And a lot of it had to do with me, like, real simple, guys, asking the questions about every car that's in the POS system, and just literally bringing your team to a halt.
Oh, wait. You were saying, tell me about this, tell me about this, tell me about that, tell me about this. Were you doing
true.
that?
Yeah, of course I was.
You were micromanaging.
I was, and I'm trying to move out of this position of being a service advisor to actually acting like an owner. And I found myself, it's like, wait a minute, I hired these people to do this job. Why do I feel like I need to know about every job still? And it's because I wanted to. It's my business. But that just causes them to feel like they can't make a move without your approval, or that they might make a wrong move. You need to train your people so well that they can leave, but you treat them so well that they don't want to.
They want to stay.
Yeah, they want to stay. And so part of that is not micromanaging. Let them be who they are. And so don't be that obstacle. Give them that, I call it latitude or freedom, or the way I described it to my oldest child. Okay, she was 13. When she was 13 years old, I went to her bedroom. Remember it like it was yesterday. And I said, Jenny, I sat beside her bed. We had some difficulties. And I said, Jenny, I said, I'm your dad. And if you're not happy with that, that's between you and God, that I'm your dad. But he made me your dad. But he also gave me a rope. And he wants, and I've got to hold on to that rope for you as you grow up. And I want you to know that as your mom and dad, sometimes we're going to let out on that rope too much. And sometimes we're going to pull back on it too hard. And because you're our oldest, you're our first, we're going to learn a lot from you. And there's just going to be times we're not going to do it right. And we're going to need your grace, and we're going to give you grace, and to develop that relationship. Now, fast forward, she's 33 years old. She's now 35. 2 years ago, I called her on her birthday, and I thanked her for all the things that she taught her mother and I. And that's just true. I mean, you can learn from everybody in your organization, no matter what their status, their level, because we all learn and have perspectives based on our experience, our knowledge, and our skill. And everyone's is different. And so given enough time, speaking, conversation, you will learn that. So allow your people to grow by not being in their way. That's what I've learned, that I was the biggest obstacle. And of course, I also learned that any problems in my business are my fault, but I'm also the solution, meaning that how I manage that. I personally believe that solutions to problems are solved by the ones that are closest to it. And what I need to do is facilitate a conversation so that comes out and they help me make it happen. The things for business owners is that we are to be vision thinkers. So we're to think the vision, and then we're to cast the vision. But you know who makes the vision? All your employees. They're the vision makers. So not you. So get out of their way.
Great advice.
That's number 2. And number 3, I just mentioned this as my burden. Because I think it's just, I have found it so exciting to watch people grow from where they are to where they want to be. There's this gap that's there. It's an amazing journey when you figure out where you want to be. You've probably heard the thought of start with the end in mind, and then help them build a journey from where they want to be, to help them envision where do they want to be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now, and then work their way back. And, I did that. It was about 2 years ago this was the first time that I actually did it at this level. I didn't always do it at this level. I always had a vision of what I thought the future would be. But, I sat down and I wrote a document that laid out the next 20 years of my life. It helped me put a path together for that to actually come to fruition. And you're seeing that happen right now. This is part of what I've written down, that this is what I want to do. My burden is the developing people, and to not create more work for the shop owners, but to remove that burden or assist with the burden of leadership by growing their employees right where they are. And so that's, I don't even know if maybe burden is the best word, but it's like this inner thing that is always on my mind and always driving me. Like, how can I help that shop owners across this country with the role they have as small business owners, with their employees, it doesn't matter what it is, everything, it just runs through my mind. And so, I just began to pick out these things. And so when we sat in that seminar with Wage and Hour some years ago, and every shop owner left, there's 100 guys in there, and every one of us left there a lot more scared than we were encouraged that for sure we were all going to go to jail if we got audited. And I spent a year with the Department of Labor learning what I could about our industry and its impact on our industry and what they did. And I learned where a 50-cent mistake can cost a shop $62,000. I said, this can't be. And then I hired a wage and hour attorney, and I went to boot camps. And so then I wrote the book. And I got to tell you, you're going to be getting it before too long. I'll tell you this for the first time, Carm. 2 of the guys that read that book went through an audit with the Department of Labor, and they got 0 fines. And I did a telephone interview with both of them together just about 2 weeks ago that we're going to make public at the right time for everyone to understand, because I asked them what they felt in the beginning, what happened, what they experienced, and what was the result. And I'm telling you, it's 38 minutes. And was the most phenomenal phone interview. Now, I've never done as many as you have, so it may be, it was the most phenomenal I had ever done to hear what these 2 men went through, but what they did and the process. I'll just stop right there. Just saying, going back to my burden, it's like that burden of walking out of that seminar and being scared out of my shorts that I'm going to be audited with a huge fine caused me to spend the next year in study on wage and hour, particularly to our industry, specific to our industry, flat rate, the 7I, 1099, all the things that could impact us and the things that you hear guys are doing, and how do we need to make it right? And we put that together in wage and hour with downloadable documents and job descriptions and everything. And people are using it. Randy Pickering recently saw all of the job descriptions and things that we put together, and he absolutely loved it. And I thought that was quite a compliment coming from a guy from like Randy Pickering from Pickering Automotive up in Colorado. And so I hope I'm just communicating the burden I have for the shop owner, no matter how big or how small. I want this industry has done so much for me personally. I want the whole world to know what an incredible industry it is and about the incredible people that work here. I'll share this real quick. One of the things I share in leadership with technicians is moonlighting and how that negatively impacts our industry. And I mean, I had a technician come back and said, I never saw myself as the professional I should have, until I talked about moonlighting with him.
Wait a minute. I thought dentists, they do root canals in their garage, don't they?
Yeah, but not very good. There's no anesthesia when they do it in the garage. It's cheaper, but there's no anesthesia. So I'm assuming it hurts a lot more. I'm not willing to go there. That's right. So there's my burden. I hope I've communicated that. So with all these things, there's been, I make it my fourth point of today is my transformation and what it's done to transform me. And I think Dustin could probably explain it best. It was like he had not been here. Dustin is my successor here at Parkway. And he tells the story of him not coming to work for me, or when he came to work for me rather. And he saw me just like, knowing everything, going everywhere, bouncing everywhere. And he was like, what am I doing here? And it was him that came to me one day and he said this so lovely. He says, you hired me to solve problems, and I'll be doing that. And if I need you, I'll come get you.
Perfect.
I sort of stopped in my tracks and went, oh, he's probably right.
He just fired you.
Yeah, he did. He just fired me. And that's really good. He just fired me. And so what happened next is I realized that I needed to quit answering the phones because I can't help the person on the other end of the phone. I mean, I just couldn't. I had hired the people to answer phones. It was part of their job to answer the phones.
And you trained them.
Yes, I had trained them. They had the resources. I believe they had the ability. And if I had to let that phone ring, and you want to talk about something that's hard to do, but let me tell you, call our office now, and you're gonna get it answered, and it's not going to be me. In fact, I no longer even have a desk here. I have a chair they let me sit in on Mondays. And my laptop sits in my lap, and I do my work, and then that's it. I don't have a desk. I don't even have a physical phone.
Wait a minute. Mike, was the desk on their part on purpose or your part on purpose?
It had to do with growth of the company. As we hired a fourth service advisor, then I knew that Dustin still needed a desk, and our office really didn't facilitate it. And so I gave him my desk and I cleaned mine out. It just gave me a reason to leave.
I totally agree. I mean, you probably saw that coming, but you didn't fight it.
That's right. I did. That's a good way of putting it. I saw the growth. I saw it needed to happen. And it's like, I have seen Dustin grow more from me being out of his way and just being sort of over here for a phone call if he needs me. And even as we are talking about a leadership mentor, which I have been for him for the last 10 years, we're talking about now that someone else being his mentor besides me.
Outside the company.
Yes. He doesn't need to feel like, the words he used is that, we have a great relationship. You just got to know, this is the best I could ask for. He's just like a brother to me now, and I never knew him before I hired him. But he says, I don't want to ride on the coattails of Mike Davidson. I'm going, I don't want him to ride on the coattails of Mike Davidson. That is so right. And I'm so glad he recognizes that. I mean, this company is truly becoming his, no longer mine.
Hey, Carm here. Now, we know about leadership, but what is leadership? Keep listening. Hey, it's Carm here. Today, I have a special message for NAPA Auto Care Centers who are looking to take the next step in growing their business and partnership. Now, if you're ready to strive and take it to the next level, NAPA invites you to consider Gold Certification. Gold Certification is a premier tier of NAPA Auto Care that recognizes repair shops with a higher level of participation in the Auto Care program. The program was built by Auto Care Centers for Auto Care Centers to provide a consistent consumer experience, maximize technology leverage, and reward NAPA's most committed partners. When consumers visit a Gold Certified Auto Care Center, whether it's a small facility in a rural community or a multi-bay shop in a large metropolitan area, they can expect a first-class service repair experience. This includes a well-trained staff using today's technology and quality NAPA parts in a comfortable, up-to-date facility. Customers at Gold Certified shops will also enjoy an extended parts and labor warranty, valuable saving opportunities, along with access to credit to pay for needed repairs, and a whole lot more. Here's what you need to qualify for the program. First, you need to be an active auto care partner for at least 12 months and have a steady business presence in your market for at least 2 years. Then, to become Gold Certified, it's necessary to meet specific requirements, chosen because they create the most consistent consumer experience and proven to generate the most significant results for auto care centers across the country. Some of these include using digital vehicle inspection, having at least one ASE Master Certified Technician, a co-branded exterior, and offer consumer financing through NAPA Easy Pay. You must also be an active member of a business development group. Once your shop achieves Gold Certification, you'll receive a number of benefits, including priority placement on NAPA's shop locator pages, an allowance for marketing funds, 3636 peace of mind and local labor coverage, access to auto tech training, NAPA Tracks shop management system, smart sign digital menu board, and more. Talk with your servicing NAPA store to find out everything you need to know about becoming a Gold Certified shop. Keep in mind, Mike, and I'm not 100% sure I'm right about this, but you've got to be sure you pull the coattails in your pants. And you could walk in and keep your coattails out, and maybe somebody wants to step on them and say, hey, Mike, what about this or that? But the point is, you got to tuck them in so that nobody can touch them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You remember, if you remember the story I gave about Valentine's Day, where I gave a great gift to all the employees. But what I later discovered is I had undermined Dustin. I thought of that on my own. And when I got home, I called him and I apologized to him. And I'm not going to let that happen again. It was a great, valuable lesson for me. And we're going through some situations right now where I need to do that. I'm making sure that I do the same thing. I can coach him and talk to him, and we have conversation. But I'm not going to be a part of that meeting and that time or that implementation. It's all him.
Yeah, it can't be about Mike anymore, right? I get it.
No. It can't be.
You are transitioning, my man. I mean, you are solidly in the deep end of the pool here.
It's been so freeing because it has allowed, if I did not do those things, if I did not transform, if I didn't follow my passion, my burden, if I hadn't listened to what I have learned, if I had not given latitude to employees to become leaders, I would still be in the weeds of this company, and I would not be able to be sitting in front of this microphone with you right now. I would not be able to have developed leadership. I would not be able to speak about leaders or become a John Maxwell certified teacher, trainer, coach, and give back to this industry that I love so dearly. I wouldn't have been able to do any of that.
You have said in the weeds now, I think 4, maybe 5 times. And every time you say that, I kept coming up with this mental picture. And my mental picture is sniper. And I couldn't figure out how does that connect with what Mike is trying to say. And I finally figured it out. If I'm in the weeds all the time and I'm a sniper, right? No one can see me. I'm in the weeds. I only have one single target. I'm only focused on one thing if I'm in the weeds. But being in the weeds means, and maybe this analogy is not good, but being in the weeds in my mind says that if you were up and out.
Carm, I'm tracking with you. I think you're right on, because as a leader, as an owner of your company, you have to be at the 30,000 foot view, because as I said, you're the vision thinker, you're the vision caster, but you're not the vision maker. And those happen in the moments of the day, in the weeds. So you're right on.
This has been great. What's next?
Ultimately, I talk about transitioning Parkway. It's been really cool to develop these systems and develop these leaders within my organization. It's just exciting to watch people grow. No one wants to leave here. They all love working here because they have something more than a job here. They are developing as people, and it's impacting their lives at home as well as at work, and they're becoming really great. And so when you have employees who lead, what you should expect, employees should be taught the responsibility they have of leadership, no matter their position. I mean, transforming an employee into leadership does not mean that they'll become a manager or the next owner. However, once discovered, an employee can have hidden potential, which will make them a much better employee right where they are. I mean, better employees will mean growth for your company. Your company is only as strong as your weakest employee. And what you want is that your personal values are reflected by every single employee. When they don't reflect your values in any given situations, that's when problems arise. And employees who lead are employees who grow. They'll become more effective in their respective roles, and they will want to stay with your company because they are growing. And so as an owner, I'll just mention these really quick things. As an owner, you have responsibilities. Your responsibility is to be coachable, to value people, to be a mentor, communicate vision.
Wow. I got to go back, clarify something. You said these words, transition Parkway. You were just trying to build a concept around Mike moving out and Dustin moving in?
Yeah, I have to go all the way back when I started the company. I knew that it would be wrong to name it Mike's Garage, because one day Mike would leave and then it would no longer be Mike's Garage. John doesn't want to own Mike's Garage. And it would only grow to the lid that Mike has. So even the name Parkway Automotive has to do with where we are. We're on a street named Chenal Parkway. And what we do, automotive. And so even going back to the very beginning, I at least had the idea that this company can't define me. It's not going to define the next person. It doesn't need to be. It's a company that's going to provide a way for people to make a living, to serve the employees, to serve the community, and to serve our customers. That's the purpose of Parkway.
Mike, if it was Davidson's Automotive and you built a hell of a brand and your customers loved you, they trusted you, integrity was huge, and Dustin's coming in and he's now owning and leading Davidson's Automotive, I don't know if that really matters, because Davidson really wasn't you. Davidson would have been by now the company. And all I'm saying is, how many people out there that are listening right now is Joe's Automotive and J and K Automotive, initials, names, husbands, wives. I don't want them to feel that they couldn't pull off a transitions Joe's Automotive. And you're right. In your strategy, I get it, but don't think you have to change the name of your business.
Yeah, and I probably went pretty heavy on that point, and because I go back to where I started, because that's what I was thinking when I began this company. You're right. If the brand is strong and you've done the good job that you should do, and you transition, and few customers even know who I am. I mean, I can walk through my company and few know who I am because they don't deal with me. And so if you're growing people as leaders within your organization and you've got other people solving the problems within your organization, you're not that guy anymore. You're just not. And that's good because they're learning how to solve problems. And that's ultimately what you need to see happen in your business, regardless of the name. People know my people. They know them by name. And that's who they're dealing with. And I think that's part of the strategies we talked about in developing leaders is making sure your advisors had latitude to solve problems. They weren't depending on you. And when they solve the problem, if they solve it and it's great, then that's great. If they solve it and they didn't solve it the way you want it to, or it costs you more than what you would have done, that's where you just coach and support them. You don't demean them, because you want them to grow from that and learn from that, because they're going to be faced with it again. And the last thing you want is them to say, oh, I remember what happened last time. I better go get Mike. And that's what you're left with.
This has been great, Mike. One thing I want to ask you, what's leadership?
Leadership is based on the 15 Laws of Growth written by John Maxwell in the 90s. And so it's a 15-week course that I have a license to teach, and it is for the employees of the shops. Now, I have had owners join. I actually start a new group. July 1st is my next group, so just in a few days. And then I'm constantly starting new groups. About halfway through the 15 weeks, I'll start another group. And the purpose of leadership is to grow your employees in their roles right where they are, not necessarily to become the next owner or manager, although they might be. Because remember this, owners choose who their leaders will be potentially by their current behavior. It would be wrong for me to hire Dustin 10 years ago and say, he's going to be the next owner. No, it was right for me to hire Dustin and watch him grow and see him, his behaviors, his actions, his attitudes already demonstrate that of a leader. And that's what I teach in leadership. I teach it's a people first, value based teaching that's for 15 weeks. I have it, of course, on our website at industryessentials.net. More information about it. You can also call me and get a hold of me or email to talk more about it. It is some of the responses that I have gotten from current both alumni, because I have finished one group, I'm in the middle of the second group, and the third group starts soon, is where one individual said, Mike, I had a situation with a family member that was going really bad. And he said, I stopped and I said in my mind, now this is his words, not mine. He said, what would Mike do? And he thought about the teaching that I had been giving him on people being valuable. And I teach them that leaders, that they listen, they learn, and then they lead. And that's exactly what he did. He listened, he learned, and then he didn't say a word. He waited a couple of days, and then he went back to them and talked to them about what he had learned, what he had heard. He said it made all the difference in the world in his relationship with his family member. So think about that in the workplace. And so we talk about different strategies and specific behaviors that leaders are involved in and do that demonstrate that they are, in fact, leaders. And leadership is a skill to be learned. It is not something you're born with. Some people would say you're born with it. Maybe there's people that have somewhat of an inclination, but there's not a person on the planet that doesn't have the ability to learn to be a leader. It is a learned skill. And leadership builds the platform, the foundation for someone to become a great leader. That's what I teach in leadership.
Mike, I'm going to make sure that the Industry Essentials website link is in this episode. You had mentioned just a moment ago that there was an owner in one of the classes. Do you recommend that?
If he wants to be, I think it's great. But it is really cool to see the shops that have just employees in, and then to see them sort of take ownership of certain behaviors and strategies. I have a shop up in Canada that one of the employees decided to actually ask his wife to take on. The owner had gotten so busy with things, they no longer had like a lake day thing, but he knew that the owner still wanted to do that, and he decided him and his wife to now take ownership of that and lead that and put that together for the owner. And what an impact that had on the owner, that he actually, led in that way and said, I can do this. We can do this.
Let me try to clarify what I'm thinking here. People are listening to this and says, I know I need to be a better leader. So I've got to get some leadership training. I'm going to listen to all 5 of these episodes on leadership with Mike and then develop my next steps from there. But if Leaders Shift is the teaching of the employees, is there a course that you have strictly for CEOs?
Yeah. So what's developing from that? So one, let me encourage you that if you're in the position that Carm just described, I say yes, join Leadership with your staff, because I have had I had one particular owner that had difficulties with communication with his staff, and Leadership helped him tremendously. And there was accountability that took place between him and his own employees on how he responded to things. That was beautiful. So I don't want to I don't want to say you shouldn't do that. I'm saying if you believe you do, then yes, join with your team. You can even join on a separate call, because I do different calls. All right. And then secondly, after Leadership, there's an opportunity for one-on-one mentoring with a John Maxwell team leadership coach. That's all they are as a John Maxwell leadership coach. There will be opportunities for that.
Why I said that and why I believe that the owner needs to have be a team player in those kinds of seminars, especially if his people are coming back from it and he doesn't see the results that he's looking for. Here's a great example. I'm a sales leader, manager, senior VP or whatever, and I send my team out for some really high-end training. And they come back, and I have no clue of new concepts, new ways, relationships. I don't have any idea what they learned. But I expect them to be doing what I just spent thousands of dollars on, right? And they come back and let me put your certificates up on the wall, check the box, thanks, next. The improvement, in my opinion, doesn't come if the leader doesn't know what these people want to do, to try, to move into, because they were just expertly taught.
Yeah, so I appreciate that comment. And so one of the things that I do in Leadership is I send the owners a recording of every call along with worksheets. So the owner could still know those things. So lots of options. We even thought through like the worksheets. We have worksheets that go out before the training each week that have fill in the blanks. But some people are distracted by having to fill in. Some people need it to stay engaged, and then some people don't need it because it distracts them. And so on Fridays, when I send the recorded call out, I send the worksheet filled out. So I try to touch both types of people as we put that together, and we're growing in that too. I mean, we're learning. We're learning stuff from the participants and the students, and we're making things better as a result of their feedback and things. So I'm really excited about where Leadership is going. And as I am gathering right now, as a mother hen would gather her chicks, I'm gathering John Maxwell coaches I'm vetting them right now, going through the process of vetting them specifically for the automotive industry. They will meet our standards to be coaches. It's not going to be just because someone wants to be a coach. They will meet standards, and they have to have a mentor in order to be one of my mentors. I'm not allowing them to just be that.
Good stuff, Mike. Again, always honored to have you on the show. Did this great leadership series with us. You come back anytime. We'll talk about what's next. Of course, Mike is from Industry Essentials, a great apprentice program, Wage and Hour book, and of course the new book, Technician Time Management. Of course, a John Maxwell certified teacher, trainer, coach. Mike, thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome, Carm. Glad to be here as always.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.